Here we are, the last show of the year, that GD show. Genevieve, can you believe we've done this since September?
No, I really can't. I mean, it's crazy because we've been talking about it for months, and now it felt like it took so long to get it off the ground, and now it feels like we've been doing this forever and also for no time at all. I think time is just
I feel the
strange these
same.
days.
I feel like I was looking back. If more of the same for me, it was like we've been doing it forever, but we just started like mid-September, and
Yeah.
that's kind of crazy when I think about all the people we've had on, and just it feels like wow. But yeah, we're just getting started.
Yeah, this is very true. I mean, I know we've been talking about our lineup for January and a little bit of February. But just looking back on everybody that we've had this year, it's sort of been, very surreal for me, especially because, you've been on this circuit. I'm just the lucky random girl you found on the internet. Don't take that out of context, internet. But
Yeah, right.
but to within a few weeks, we're sitting down with like Anthony Magnabosco and Matt Dillahunty and Seth Andrews and my friend Forrest Valkai. I mean, it's just been really wonderful,
Yeah.
and I'm full of gratitude for you, my friend.
Oh, well, me too, Genevieve. I'm lucky. I feel like I'm lucky that we connected, and the perspective you've brought to this has been so refreshing. Your just your sharpness, your intelligence, your articulate way of communicating with people. It's just been, and obviously I'm not the only one who thinks that. Now you're on to bigger and better shows, and you're just like the host everybody wants.
No,
and that's great. Yeah,
you're better than this. Yeah.
No, yeah, this will always be your home show.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you started. It's like those big broadcasters. They started at the local channel in Podunk, Tennessee, or whatever.
Yeah.
But welcome to the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in again. We really want to invite you to call tonight, especially. We don't have a guest, as you can see. Well, you may not have known that. You may thought we were going to bring a surprise guest like Jesus again, but Jesus was busy tonight. Yeah, he's with Santa at the North Pole. But Genevieve, what's the number they can call if they want to talk to us?
So if you want to call in and tell us about your year, ask us any questions, you can call 217-575. No, sorry, I didn't read it well this time. 217-375-9933. I'm on my laptop right now, and the screen is so small. I feel like I know your pain of like, wait, I can't read that
I
number.
know. I'm always looking down there, and then
I know. If you didn't know, that's why Dave passes it off to me because
yeah.
my eyes are a little sharper. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Once again, 217-375-9933.
So we want to hear from you if you just want to chat with us about your year. The show is called the Review and Preview Show. We're going to kind of just look back on the year 2021, as we've already started doing, and then look forward to 2022 and some of the guests we have already lined up, and some that we've talked to that we don't have on the schedule yet, but they are coming on the show. And then we'd love your input. If you have ideas, maybe it's a guest or maybe it's a topic, because as you know, may or may not know, we try to not just have guests on talking about God and believe God or no, faith in atheism, belief and non-belief. The God and no God argument is being done plenty of other places much better than I can do it, or that we can do it. We like to talk more about subjects, topics that have a guest on that we can talk around those, like we did with Dan Barker and the Freedom from Religion Foundation, or Daryl Ray and the Recover from Religion, or Andrew Seidel and Christian nationalism, and those kinds of ideas that we can have a conversation about and take calls about. So if you may have a guest that you would like to recommend to us, or you may have a subject that you would like us to talk about, and what we would do is we would try to research that subject and find a guest that could converse with us about that. So those are the ideas we have, right, Genevieve?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's really been so wonderful about this show too, is, like you said, the whole debate on, whether or not God is real, blah, 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 all of this stuff. I mean, it's been done so well by so many people, and yet there's so much more to talk about, especially being that we're in America, and like American evangelical Christianity is a whole nother beast. And so it's really been wonderful being able to sort of branch off and talk to people about more of the nitty gritty. And I do want to point out, Dave, I Got Cookies said, I wish Super Chat was working. I want to tell Dave that I signed up for the Everything ALS study today.
I saw your comment, I Got Cookies. Thank you for that, and I appreciate your support. The Super Chat and I tell you what, YouTube has a stringent verification process, and me being ignorant, it's taken me a while to figure out how to do it. We've got everything done. The only thing so Super Chat probably won't work tonight. I'm sorry about that. But we should have it up and running by next week's show. I'm waiting on the verification. They send a code in the mail, in the physical mailbox, to verify that I'm a human being living at a physical address, I think. And Ethan has been helping me with this process, but we still don't have every detail worked out yet. So please bear with us. I'm sorry about that. They're running ads again, but the Super Chat doesn't seem to be working. But anyway, thanks, I Got Cookies. And again, I appreciate your support. I've seen your comments on the YouTube channel. By the way, for folks that make the comments on the YouTube channel, I don't respond to most of them just because I don't have a lot of time to do that. But it's hard for me to type with my ALS in my arms, and so I just don't. It's just hard for me to respond to a lot of messages. I try to do as much voice to text as I can with emails and texts and comments and stuff. But if I don't respond to your comments, I do usually see them and appreciate your comments, and whether they're positive or negative. The only ones I do comment is if you get nasty, and I'll probably fire back something at you. But we haven't had too many of those. But anyway, that's why I don't respond to them. It's just don't have the time, or it's just difficult. So again, if you've got thoughts or ideas, we want you to call in. We're going to be kind of just, Genevieve and I are just chatting about things tonight. It's going to be chill and relaxed. If you would love to hear from you, if you want to call in, just talk about anything. The beauty of tonight is that we don't have a guest, and so we don't have to worry about taking a call and interrupting a conversation with the guest. So that's kind of where we're at tonight. So what else would you what else about 2021, Genevieve, would you like to reflect upon?
Oh man, I mean, it's a really big question, because I mean, just for my personal life, this year has been such a massive year of growth. And if I could think of a word or an idea to ascribe to this year, it's kind of morbid, but if you're familiar with tarot, there's the card of death. And
I never saw the tarot cards, because as a Christian, those were evil.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I got into them. Fun fact, I used to be much more into it, but I used to practice some witchcraft, not because I believed in anything supernatural whatsoever, but really just because it was, it's a fun way to meditate, it's a fun way to reflect on things, and it really creeps out like the hardcore evangelicals in your life, to let them know that you're in a coven and you're practicing this stuff. But anyway, my point was that the card of death is a card that comes up in tarot that people will think it's like this horrible, terrible thing. It's like, oh no, that means you're gonna die. But really what it means is that it's a time of transformation. It means that there's, maybe a death of your identity that from which you can now grow and sort of be reborn. So I think that's kind of my morbid yet positive way to reflect on this year, which is really the only way I can do it. I mean, my dad died in November 2020 out of nowhere from this freak accident. And so coming into this year was still wrapped in this grief. But that sort of experience led to so many different things and all this new growth. And I'm really excited to see where 2022 takes me, grief and joy and all.
It's kind of funny how much can happen in 1 year when you think about it. I mean, you and I mean, what's weird is we've never met in person. We're going to fix that soon. But I feel like I know you so well, having done this show now every week for several months. And a year ago this time, we had no idea each other existed. And so that's what's crazy, is that you can become really close to someone in the course of a few months, and it feels like you've known them a long time, and it's just been less than a year or whatever. So just a lot can happen in a year. And and that's something to reflect on. I think that can be good or that can be bad. I mean, good things can happen and bad things can come out of nowhere. I mean, I remember, before I knew I had ALS, we had a friend here in Charlotte that took Bevan and I sailing today. We went sailing on a lake, and it was so fun. It was just so relaxing. And I realized I'd never been sailing, and he's a supporter of the show here. He might show up in the chat. He's probably watching. Hey, Mario, wonderful guy, and he's become a good friend of ours. And he's become our, anytime we need to if we're flying out, Mario says, "Let me take you to the airport. I'm retired. I've got plenty of time." He's just so wanting to help in any way he can. So anyway, he texted me last night and said, "Hey, I'm going sailing tomorrow. You want to go?" So we went sailing, and he's older than me. He looks younger than me. He's such an active, vibrant guy, but he's climbing around on this sailboat like a monkey, just doing this and unhooking that rope and moving this sail around and cranking that. And I'm sitting there and I can't do any of that. And I'm thinking, I mean, there's all I could do to get in and out of the boat. And I'm thinking, 2 years ago, I could have been bouncing around this thing like a monkey. I was always very agile and athletic, and had good balance and coordination, all those things, just naturally. And all that's gone. And it's just, I'm not saying that to make anyone sad, but that shit can happen so fast. This ALS came out of nowhere, and there was no clue that it was coming. And then all of a sudden, I'm losing this and that, and it's just fading, and it's fading slow, but it's fading, and there's stuff I just can't do that I could do. But the point of that rambling monologue is that you just don't know what life's going to bring. And my dying out loud message has become about that, if you will, is about the moments that we have, and don't take them for granted, and grab all the moments you can and appreciate what you have, and do the most you can with it, and do the best you can with it, because you just don't know what is coming around the road. And we have to carpe the fucking diem. That's my motto.
No, this is so true, which reminds me, I'm very excited for you to get your Christmas present. It should be arriving relatively soon.
Oh, you sent a Christmas present.
I did. I didn't get it into the mail early because I found it when I was last minute shopping on the 23rd. So I'll get that in the mail.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. But kind of going back to what you said, that's completely true. For better or for worse, you have no idea how much can change in the course of a year. And it's funny because sometimes in life, it can feel like all of the years blend together because it seems like time is just passing and you're staying in the same place. but you're just getting older. And that sort of has its own sort of, stress or anxiety or sort of like existentialism surrounding it. But that's not always a bad thing, because for better or for worse, everything can change in just a moment. I mean, we can make plans and we can, come up with ideas about what we would do for retirement. I mean, I know that, 3-4 years ago, you would never have thought that you have to ask yourself the questions that you do now. Like, oh, do I need a new house so I can get around better? Like, what can I do to sort of, it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways, but just like you said too, that's why it's so important to be present in your moment and stay mindful. And if you are going through something that is just terrible and feels insurmountable, it can also be a positive thing to remember, because you don't know what the future holds for you as well. And it can always get so much better if you just hang on there. So I'm sure a lot of people could really hear that, because just for the world, like if pointing at everything, the last 2 years have been a shit show.
Yeah. They have in so many, and I'm constantly aware. I mean, Bevan knows I get grumpy when things don't go my way, but COVID interrupted all the plans that we had for traveling and meeting people and speaking and doing the things that we started doing with Dying Out Loud. But the irony of Dying Out Loud even existing, the irony of this show even existing, the irony of you and I connecting, Genevieve, and the people in the chat who we've gotten to know, the people that are supporters of the show and that we've met in this way. I never would have been doing this if I hadn't gotten ALS. I wasn't doing any of this. I was an atheist, but I wasn't doing any activism. I wasn't speaking out. I wasn't doing anything. I mean, I had a group of people in Nashville. We met together. We supported each other in ways, because we were all deconstructed, and there's a lot of trauma that goes with that, and a lot of support that's often needed in different ways. And I was there doing that, but I wasn't speaking up like I started doing after the diagnosis. So I didn't feel, I don't know, I didn't feel the urgency. I didn't feel, I'd done a lot of years as an evangelical and a lot of those years as a pastor and always as a church leader. And maybe I just kind of felt burnout on being the guy that was talking and speaking and the go-to guy and the guy with, people look to for answers, because that's what happened a lot in that world of mine. And so I wasn't active or speaking, but I just thought after getting the diagnosis, I just felt like I needed to get involved. I felt like my time, because my time was short, and I felt like I didn't know, it's been 3 years now. I didn't know what I had. I didn't know how long I would have. I still don't, but I've realized I have longer than I thought I did. But anyway, the point is, none of this, when things happen that you weren't expecting, like you said, Genevieve, you have to, somebody says, see, Dave, the atheist God has a plan for your death. LOL. Oh. By the way, guys, if you want to chat on the phone, call us. 217-375-9933. We'd love to talk with you. And just anything you want to talk about, like I said, just give us a call. We'll take your call. But like you said, Genevieve, it's if something comes your way that takes you by surprise, that waylays you, you do have a choice to make. How are you going to respond to that? What are you going to do with it? Because there will be opportunity that comes along with the calamity, or whatever you want to call it. And that's not it sounds like a cliche. If life hands you lemons, make lemonade.
No.
That's kind of it, but it's more than that. It's more than just putting on a happy face and having a positive attitude. It's what can you do to make the world around you a better place? And we all can find some way to do that. And it's just simply caring about more than just yourself and more than just what's happening in your life. It's about looking around and opening your mind to what can I do to make things better for someone. And so I am thankful for the opportunity I've been given in the last couple of years and the platform I've been given, and I hope to be able to do it a lot more in different forms. And the irony of COVID shutting down the travel was that it forced me to look to other avenues to do what I was doing, i.e. this show, i.e. get my book finished. And so, I had to turn to another outlet to get the message out, if you will.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I have so many things to sort of say to that, but I think what I'll start off with is that you're absolutely right that for the most part, things are out of our control. We might think that we have control, and we really don't. You don't know when life is going to hand you a lemon. And I wouldn't really, I wouldn't put any forced positivity on like, oh, or defining how people should move forward. But I think that ultimately, who you are as a person has a lot to do with how you do react in these situations. You don't really know yourself, I think, until you have been thrown a curveball, and suddenly like the safe plan that you sort of had in your mind, and once that's sort of fallen apart, that's when you sort of pick up the pieces and look at yourself and say like, oh yeah, like life is short and I have no idea what's going on, so how do I want to navigate it? And I think
Exactly.
really, I think something beautiful about what you do, and what I try to do is really, we don't know how much time we have. We don't know, what's going to happen to the world or to ourselves. And so that's why it's so important to sort of like live authentically and live the way that you would want to, because you never know what's going to come next. And I think, I also think another thought that I had a minute ago was about that funny comment about, where is it? About the atheist God having a plan for us. And I will say there is some poetry about how sort of I came on here too, because I never had TikTok. I've never been big into social media, and for a long time, I didn't care about my atheism until I had to, until the pandemic hit and I saw atheism, or I saw, evangelical Christianity going hand in hand with the Trump years, and B, this like anti-mask movement. So that was sort of the first inkling, but the only reason I got on TikTok was because when my dad died, I had just, like, my job had just ended, and I needed to fill my time with something, and I asked my friends to send me cute memes and funny stuff and like all of their show and book recommendations, so I could just have something to fill my day with besides just being sad and laying in bed. And my friend Heather kept sending me these funny TikToks, and she's like, "You just got to download the app. You just got to download the app." And I said, "Okay, fine." And because of that sort of deep dive into evangelical Christianity that I had done, I was a big fan of Paula Gia's YouTube channel. And he said, you should make your own content. So that's what I did. And then I think too about how when, my dad was in the hospital, because he had a traumatic brain injury and he was in the ICU for about 2 weeks before we had to say goodbye. And, there's, oh, I'm praying for you. Oh, thoughts and prayers, blah, blah, blah. I remember the nurse telling me that a friend of mine lost his wife a few weeks before my dad died, just so I would be primed for grief and could handle this journey better. And that's, yeah, as soon as she left the room, I mean, my dad was in a coma, and I just said to him, I was like, I pray to whatever God that you didn't hear that, because that is some major bullshit. And then, of course, after that, when he did pass, somebody, an old coworker of mine, telling me that he was surely burning in hell because I asked that she didn't pray for us. The way that she was praying was very condescending. So all of this stuff coming together.
There's no hate like Christian love.
Exactly. It got me ranting on TikTok about this stuff and getting some of these thoughts out and having sort of the conversations that I want to have, where it's not just coming out of anger, but it's coming out of like genuine love and care for everybody who is sort of wrapped up in this. And because of all of that happening, because of losing my dad, you found me.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, you are such a dear friend to me at this point. I mean, just in the, it's been less than a year that we've known each other, and in a way, you are a father figure to me. Like, you are one of my best friends.
You're gonna make me cry.
Your family. I know, I'm tearing up too, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so there's some poetry there about losing my father and then you coming into my life. And what that tells me is that
there's a God.
If your God exists, he really wants me to just scream from the rooftops about how he doesn't. So thank you.
No, I feel the same way, Genevieve. It's going to be really special. We get to meet at the beach in February. We're going to mention that on the show here and put that out to anybody who wants to join us. So yeah, we're gonna share some things that are coming up this year. Please call if you've got any thoughts or ideas for future guests. Just to give us, I'm going to go over the January lineup coming into the new year. We start off with a bang on January 3rd with none other than Aaron Ra.
I'm so excited.
The third element of the unholy trinity. We've had the two already on, Matt Dillahunty and Seth Andrews. I got to meet Aaron at the Faithless Forum in Austin a couple of months ago. We were both speaking there. We actually got to do, I think we've mentioned this, we teamed up with Bible Trivia. And so we got to chat quite a bit there at the forum, and he's agreed to come on in January. And so looking forward to that. That's going to start the year off with a bang. And then the following week is someone that you're more familiar with, Andrew Harrison.
Yes, Andrew Harrison Cox.
Yes.
He's also on TikTok as Red Sage, and he also does a YouTube show, a podcast called The Unholy Trinity. He's an incredible, wonderful person. He is a Christian, but he's deconstructed from this, rural conservative, Southern, I want to say Southern Baptism. But he's an incredibly intelligent and wonderful person. So I'm really excited to talk to him about everything that he knows about, the Old Testament and sort of his spiritual journey and thoughts about the culture around the American evangelicalism that he left in the first place.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation because I've got some very firm thoughts about progressive Christianity. It'll be nice to dialogue with him on there. I've got some progressive Christian friends, and so I have some, even in my own head, some conflicting thoughts about that in particular. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then following him on the 17th will be a friend of mine, Marcia Wickham. We're going to have some heavy subjects coming up in January. That's going to deal with sexual abuse, and it's going to have some content warning on it because it's some very sick kind of sexual abuse that she's endured. And we're going to talk about how the church covers that up and what her experience was. She's actually made a documentary about her experience. And it'll be a very hard subject, but very important one to talk about. I mean, just following in the footsteps of the whole Josh Duggar stuff, how much this stuff goes on it's just not talked about. It's horrible. It's a mess, but she's a wonderful person. I've gotten to know her over the last couple of years. And then following her on the 24th is Cara Quigley. Her tag on Twitter, I reached out to her. I think it's Twitter. The daughter of a school shooter. Her dad in the 60s was a school shooter. And so she does a lot of research and talking about the epidemic of school shootings that we have in this country. And not even just school, but mass shootings in different venues, the gun violence, the gun problem we have in America. So we're going to tackle that. And do we have answers? I don't know, but we got to start shining the light on the problem for one thing. And so we're going to be talking about that. And then we end the month with Gwen Blodgett, that show's going to be from purity culture to nudism. She's a nudist in Florida. And she was raised in the purity culture and very evangelical fundamentalist background. So we're going to talk about her journey from those two extremes. So that's just 1 month. That's just January. So
it's gonna be heavy, but I'm so excited because these are such important conversations to have.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
gosh.
we've got to, and that's again, if you're watching and again, I've had a lot of people, not a lot, but some people want us to have more calls about the atheist God debate, and we'll have some of those, and we had the evangelical Christian on a few weeks ago, Rose Dipe. That was a stimulating conversation, somewhat frustrating for me. Genevieve and I both had to have drinks afterwards and download. We were quite frustrated with that.
He still hasn't answered my email.
Oh, is he not?
Nah.
He may have watched it back and gone, oh, I don't know that I want to get back into that. I don't know. But we're gonna go over some of the other upcoming guests. But right now we're gonna take a call from our regular viewer here, Darren in him, talk about dealing with long-term disease. And Darren's a regular watcher. Hey, Darren, you on?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, Darren, good to hear from you, man. How are you doing?
It's going pretty good. I'm currently recovering from total left knee replacement surgery, but I'm doing okay.
Oh, good. You're in. Tell me again where you are. There's Genevieve back. She's Genevieve is at her in-laws in North Carolina, so the Wi-Fi may be a little sketchy.
Yeah, that actually, I don't think that was the Wi-Fi. It might have been myself. I got a touchpad here, and I think I accidentally just back.
I got you.
I'm back.
You're in Texas, right, Darren?
Oh, okay, cool.
Are you in Texas?
Yes, yeah. I'm in the DFW area. Yeah, a blue dot in a disgustingly red state.
Oh, I hear you, bro. I hear you. We're hoping that we're going to be coming through Texas in some of our travels next year, so maybe we'll get to meet up. But thanks for calling. What would you like to talk about?
I'd love to meet you. Well, I just wanted to call and first off, thank you. You've been a real inspiration to me, just with your, seize the day, carpe the fucking diem, and dying out loud. I have young onset Parkinson's disease. I was diagnosed coming up on 9 years, I think, in April, but 2022. But it was a pretty good jolt. I was 43 at the time, and thought I had my whole life ahead of me and stuff, which I still do.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever life I have ahead of me.
Right.
And I was also going through deconstruction at the same time, so it was a pretty interesting time in my life. But
let me ask you this: it's the kind of question Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. The kind of question I get asked all the time. Did you ever think while you're deconstructing and then you get this diagnosis, did you think, oh shit, God's getting me now? Or do you have anybody telling you that?
Well, what I was told mostly was, because I was almost pretty much fully deconstructed at that point, but
right.
What people that friends of mine that were still in my circle that are religious or, Christians, as that's what I grew up as, evangelical Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They would, send me messages. Oh, God wouldn't have done this to you unless he had a plan for you, and that kind of bullshit, and
Genevieve's eyes just rolled out of her head. Go get your eyes, Genevieve. They're on the floor behind you.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubt, because mine did too. I started a blog called Punk Rock Parkinson's, and I had finally gotten so sick of that message, and I was so pissed off about it. And I don't remember what entry it was. It's been several years, but I just part of that blog entry was, if one more person tells me that their God gave me this for a reason, they can stick it straight up their ass. I'm not taking that. comment anymore. And
Good.
really seemed to work, because I really haven't had much since then.
Well, you have to draw some boundaries, man. I mean, we don't have to sit and take that kind of stuff from people just because they want to dish it out. That's not okay.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. And I would probably say one of the biggest things that you helped me with was, of course, initially it's always the why me, and I know you went through that too. And I had that for a little while. And part of it was because I can't find a reason why I got it. I wasn't around pesticides as a kid. The closest thing I can relate to maybe why I got it is because my dad was in Vietnam and had, was around Agent Orange and stuff like that. And there is a study, though the VA won't admit it, that says that Parkinson's from Agent Orange can possibly be passed down to children and grandchildren. But I finally, after hearing you say, well, why not me? Why am I so special that I wouldn't possibly get it? It just really turned my perspective around, because I wasn't angry about it, but I still had that rolling in my head, like, well, why the fuck me? What the hell? And
that question
comment changed my perspective.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for that. The thing that is troubling about that comment, why me, it can lead to a lot of self-pity and anger, and those emotions just aren't helpful. They're just can lead, it can make us really crawl into a shell of anger and frustration, and it bespeaks the idea that I am special, that how could someone so special as me be have to deal with this illness. We're not special, and most of that attitude comes from people that are steeped in religion and being told that you're the apple of God's eye, and you're before the foundation of the world he chose you and formed you, and all that stuff, like you're some special thing. You're not. You're a cosmic accident dropped into a chaotic world, and that's it. And the sooner we come to grips with that, the better off we can make our life.
No, that's the truth right there. And one thing that really, I really educated myself on the disease, and I got on the board with the Parkinson's group for a while. And, I went all in as far as I want to understand this, and I want to know how to live the best I can with it, and that kind of stuff. But one thing that has really hit me lately, and probably in this last year, especially with COVID and all that bullshit going around, was, I've got to really, my motto, and I even posted it in the chat there a little bit ago, is live your best life now. I've got to live my best life now. And that was one of the things I told the surgeon about my left knee was, look, my 70 is not going to be this, if I make it 70 years old, it's not going to be the same as everybody else's 70 years old. And I want to be able to live now. So that's why I need to get this knee replaced, because I was walking around with a cane and all kinds of stuff. And a few years back, I had chosen to have, it's called deep brain stimulation surgery, where they implant electrodes in your brain and run down to a battery in your chest. And it really helps control my Parkinson's symptoms. Most days people can't even tell I have it, which is a good thing. But that was one of the decisions then was, man, I got to live life now, because my 60, 65, whatever is not going to be the same as a person that does not have a degenerative neurological disease. And then when you're saying, carpe the fucking diem, that's exactly it. Just live each day, and get the most out of it that you can. Be kind to the people that you can be kind to. And, just try to be happy with what you do and where you're going, the decisions you make. And And, so much of that stemmed from hearing your story. And then, of course, Genevieve, your positivity is just, it just oozes out of the screen. Both of you are such a pleasure to listen to and so encouraging. And, I've just learned a lot about myself, as well as, just life in general, and walking in, living this life without a belief in God, which is, when I finally gave all that up, was just awesome. It was like a 1,000-pound weight off my back, but I just really wanted to thank you guys so much for all that you've done, and let you know how far your impact really does reach.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very nice of you to say. And how does your Parkinson's affect you on a daily basis? You mentioned something about your symptoms, but what does that look like, and what do they say it's going to look like as time goes on?
Well, if I didn't, when I chose to get the deep brain stimulation surgery, up to that point, I was taking 20 pills a day throughout the day, trying to control my symptoms. And my symptoms are, of course, tremors, difficulty walking, very poor balance, and stuttering. I really have a difficult time talking, and get stuck on words. My brain's going, but the mouth just doesn't spit them out. And it was making it very difficult to work and function, because I like to woodwork and things like that. And so when I had that surgery, I was fortunate. It worked probably better than expected on me, which I'm very grateful for. So when that's operating, working, I'm like I said, it's almost like I don't have Parkinson's. I still do deal with some balance issues and the occasional stuttering, but not too often anymore. And the nice thing is, because it's a progressive disease, there's no cure.
Right.
I can also increase my stimulator on my right and left sides of my brain to help control the symptoms. So right now things are great. Down the road, I hope to get a good 15, 16 years out of this. And then I'll probably have to start adding more medicine along with the stimulation. But and I currently do some volunteer work with the Abbott, the company who made my stimulator.
Yeah.
I do some in-house interviews for them, and I just did a satellite media tour for them with my doctor to promote their equipment, and also the fact that they just now came out with, and I'm not trying to do this on your show, I apologize, but I can do my doctor visits virtually now, and he can actually connect to me via Bluetooth and make adjustments and things like that as necessary. And so that's something that I just absolutely relish, because there's so many people know hardly jack shit about Parkinson's. They just think it's an old person shaky disease.
Yeah.
And, so any type of education I can get out there. And that's one of the big reasons I started my blog, was, talking about my personal experience with it and things that happen and stuff, so that people can learn about it and try to understand it. So anyway, sorry, I was long.
Well, no, that's good.
Right now, I'm doing pretty well.
Good. The encouraging thing is they are working hard on finding, first of all, what causes these motor neuron diseases. Parkinson's is a cousin of ALS, and a lot of the research is happening in the same areas, and they're kind of working alongside each other in trying to identify these things. And there's progress being made. There's more being done now than there was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So, and they just passed a law at the very end of the year, Act for ALS, which will probably bleed over into other diseases, but it's going to fund government funding for access to drugs that are in trials and things that show efficacy that we can't get, because the drug there just aren't enough of us for the drug companies to make them, even if they're not, even if they're approved by the FDA. The FDA doesn't approve them. So it's been a frustrating experience to see people we know see results from some different therapies and then not be able to have access to it. So it's really it's a frustrating experience that you can understand.
It is,
for sure.
and yeah, I mean, as long as Parkinson's has been around, they still don't even know what causes it.
No.
You know, and they know obviously what the effects are, obviously, but they still have no clue. You know, one week, which it is in the brain, but okay, is it started because of the gut bacteria? That they're still grasping at straws. It feels like.
Yeah.
And so I guess as long as they can keep working toward therapies until they can get to that point that we know where it starts, we know what happens, what causes it, whether it be ALS or Parkinson's or any other neurological degenerative disease, that'll be huge. And I don't expect to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah,
but,
I don't either. But
I'm okay
down the road, hopefully it benefits someone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm okay with knowing I tried to do my part to help other people deal with the disease. And I'll just, one of my favorite Michael J. Fox quotes, and I won't get it exactly right, but one of the things he says is, basically just focus on today. Don't worry about what tomorrow may bring, because if it doesn't happen, then you've worried for nothing and it's stolen from you. And then if it does happen, well, then you've had to live through it twice.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And that's, yeah, it's a tremendous saying. I don't think I nailed it exact, but you get the point.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And it just lines up with what you're saying, seize the day, live the day that you're in, and make the best of that day. And then when you wake up tomorrow, make the best of that one.
Well, I appreciate you trying to help other people, which is confusing to me because as an atheist, you obviously have no morals. So I don't understand why you would be such a good guy.
Oh, I know, right? I'm supposed to be this total piece of shit. So.
Yeah, you're just angry, selfish atheist. No, hopefully we get to meet up in Texas.
I wish you guys would quit being so goddamn nice.
I know. We'll try to be meaner. I have my moments. But hopefully we get to meet up in Texas. Follow, we'll be announcing our schedule in the calendar and travels. And so hopefully you'll see when that's there. And obviously I'll be sharing it on the show. So I'm sure we'll meet up somewhere. But thanks for calling, Darren.
I'll definitely keep in track with what you guys are doing, and hopefully we can meet up. But thank you both so much.
You bet, man. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. What a neat guy.
Yeah, he sounds really great.
Yeshua HaMashiach says in the chat, chant is Yeshua, I know that's not your real name. Would love for you to call, by the way, with this comment, and we can chat about it. We can talk about it on the air. Don't lurk in the chats. Get on the phone and call us. Chance is improbable. Life is irreducible. Cells contain coded instructions to make an organism using a language and words, the genetic code. That's enough to suffice evidence God. Genevieve, your eyes rolled back in your head again.
I know. I didn't think they would be doing that this much today. I thought, this is going to be a fun, positive reflection on what the but of course, y'all are always there to spout that.
But they won't call in. And
I know.
You know what? If you're listening, Yeshua HaMashiach, you're a coward. You are a coward, because we have open lines and we will take your call and we will talk with you respectfully and let you talk, and we will respond on the air, and you can say your piece, but yet you choose to lurk in the chat where no one can confront your erroneous argument. And that's a cowardly way to try to make a point. So you are a fucking coward. You got evidence for God? Bring it. Go ahead, Genevieve. Be nicer than I was, because I'm sick of them lurking in the chats.
No, I was going to say you are absolutely a coward, but that's just our thoughts. You can always prove us wrong by calling in. It's funny too. This is my first year, really the past few months has been my first time being on YouTube, on shows, whether it's here or or nonprofits or atheist experience. My mind's still blown, but it's funny because it's the first time that I've ever experienced YouTube comments as the individual that they're referring to.
Oh my God.
And you know, some of them are really wonderful, but it's when there are some that aren't so wonderful, it's exactly that. You want to do a better job? Come up here. Come on, let's do this. You know, if you think you can do a better job, please don't lurk in the chat. Don't say this or that. Just why don't you do it then? Please, I would love to. I would love to be replaced by somebody who can do this so much better than I can. It would truly be a pleasure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They don't because they are absolutely cowards, and it's much easier to hide.
The YouTube comments are fun, aren't they, Genevieve? I mean, boy, they really lay into you. And yeah, I got to repeat my favorite comment that I got so far is that someone said that, Dave, you should do these shows with a bag on your head so you don't break or bend any mirrors. I'm sure your 10 viewers would appreciate it. I mean, that's just like, okay, are you a child? Are you 12 years old? Nah. I know you are. What am I? That's what that felt like. I mean, I just laughed. But I looked at it, and it was the show we had Alice Gretchen on. And she's a legit model, and Genevieve, you could be. So, you know, I've said this before, but by contrast, yeah, I'm looking pretty. Maybe I should have a bag on my head. But who does that? Who sits in the comments and what's going on in someone's mind to take the time to type that out? I just don't understand that.
Yeah, I really don't either. I really don't. I mean, for one thing, I'm not a confrontational person typically in the first place. But I also really believe that if you're not going to say something nice, and it's not warranted to call somebody out by not saying something nice, then you shouldn't say anything at all.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen YouTube shows and I'm not impressed with them, or I don't really enjoy the content or whatever, but I just scroll on, you know, just move on by. You don't have to drop a nasty comment. Just move on by. I don't understand people like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was having a conversation about this the other day about, you know, some drama happening on TikTok. And I think sometimes people forget that the people that you're watching, whether that's on TikTok or on YouTube, you might see them as this big like influencer identity, but like they're real people.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how many followers you get. Like words do hurt. Like nobody likes to.
Yeah. Yeah, we're real people and we have feelings and
so stop being dicks, man.
Yeah, don't be a dick. And if you wanna talk about your argument, call in. We're welcome. We welcome any callers. We still have plenty of lines open. We got about a half an hour. We are going to talk about some things coming up. Someone, I think Bevan handed me a note about the February thing. And so we're going to mention that on the air. It's now going to be a public thing. Someone's asked about the February party. So this February, the 19th through the 26th, a bunch of friends and I got together and rented this big house on the beach in the Gulf Coast. It's in Gulf Shores, Alabama. It's a huge house right on the beach. My favorite, that Gulf Coast beach, panhandle of Florida, Alabama there has been my special place, if you will. It's where I've always gone to reboot. Like Neil Young says in Helpless, the song Helpless, it's where all my changes were there. I love that line. Anyway, we did that 2 years ago with a bunch of friends, and we got a bigger. I thought that would be my last, big bang at the beach, but here I am still sticking around for a couple more years, and so we decided to have another one. And so we got this enormous, beautiful house right on the beach. It's in February. The last day of the week is the anniversary of my diagnosis, February 26th. So that's always a momentous day. And so the house is full. We just individual friends and people have rented a room for either a half a week, a first half or second half or full week, depending on what kind of time you have to come. And we're opening up and the house is full, but there's a lot of hotels, Airbnbs, VRBO condos in the area. It's off season for that part of the country, so the rates are pretty good. And if you get a hotel or Airbnb off the beach, it can be very affordable. And we're inviting folks, anyone that wants to come hang out with us for all a part of that week. Genevieve is coming in the second half of the week. And Jess is coming with you, right?
Yes, he is. We're
very
excited.
Yeah, and there's others that a lot of good friends of mine are coming, but other people that I've met through my Dying Out Loud work, others that I've connected with that I haven't met yet. So a wide variety of people. If you're interested in that, email us, daveoutloud@gmail.com. We can give you more details. Like I said, the house is full as far as lodging, but there are lots of places in the area. You could come down, get a place of your own, and then just hang out with us at the house. It's got a heated pool. It's got huge hangout areas, big deck, lots of time to just chill with people, meet people you would be interested in hanging with. And if, like I said, if you want to come and hang out for all or part of that, we're going to be opening it up to whoever can get there for whatever time they can be there, and then hang out with us. There's no agenda. There's no meetings. It's not a retreat. Like, you won't get triggered like your religious retreats. It's just hanging out, eating, drinking, and being merry. So like I said, if you're interested in that, email daveoutloud@gmail.com. And if you guys, the chat, could throw that email in the chat, that'd be great, just so people can grab it really quick. And that's it. So that's in February coming up. And Genevieve and I, we're going to finally meet that week.
I know. I'm going to cry, and I'm never going to let go.
That's okay. We'll have a big hug. Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, no, I'll be very excited. Yeah, that's gonna be a really busy week for me because I almost mentioned this when we got that call earlier, but so I am the executive director of a nonprofit developing therapeutics for rare genetic neurological diseases. And the first week, because that's the 20th and the 21st, I'm hosting a golf tournament in North Carolina. So as soon as that craziness is over, the next morning we're going to be flying out of Raleigh and coming to join you for the rest of the week. And I am so looking forward to it. I mean, there's been so much planning that's been going on to this fundraiser, because in case you all didn't know, curing diseases costs a boatload of money. So I am so excited to wind down and chill at the beach and just hang out with you and everybody. It's going to be so great.
It is. It's going to be a time to just relax and enjoy each other's company, and everybody it'll be a great time. Anyway, there's we'll post more details. If you have any questions or more details about that, email daveoutloud@gmail.com. Also, my book, my memoir, Crazy Childish Things. I almost called it Crazy Things. What the hell? It could be called that, actually. Childish Things, because when I became a man, I put away childish things, as the Bible says to do. Is going to be out. It's done. We just have to get the final formatting details done. It'll be released on Amazon. I'll be working on an audio version of that in the coming weeks. And but we should have it available on Amazon first or second week of January. All things going well. With that, you got a note? Sorry, Bevan brings me notes. She's, huh?
Bevan.
Show what happened when you got the first.
What happened?
Show it.
Oh, bring it around. Oh, bring it around. She wants to show the cover.
Oh, here it goes. Oops, let me get it lined up right. There we go. I can't get it right. There we go. Here's the cover. Dave Warnock, Childish Things.
We got a proof in, but the proof was all messed up. So
Yeah,
the margins were all fucked up.
Where the print was microscopically small.
But that picture is actually a picture of me about 2 years old, leaning through the picture of the window of my Volkswagen car to kiss my mom. But I'm very excited about the book. It's we sent it out to some people to review it and got good reviews. it's my life story, and it was a hard thing to write, but it was very important for me to get it out. And so we're going to do a book tour next year. I've got some travels planned, some speaking engagements already on the books, and hopefully more will be added. But in conjunction with speaking engagements at conferences or individual venues, we're hoping to schedule things at like a local coffee shop or a small bookstore. Really small, intimate meetings. I love those. And I'll read a little, do a reading and a signing if people want signed copies, and do a Q&A. And so we really want to fill up the calendar with that in between speaking engagements. Someone on TikTok mentioned a coffee shop in Milwaukee, and that's perfect because we're going to be going to Madison to do Dan Barker's show at some point in the spring or summer. And so, that kind of thing, to be able to connect right next to where we're going to be is perfect. So if you know of a place like that, I think Genevieve, you mentioned one in near your place in Frederick. Yeah.
Right downtown, there's actually a bunch of really beautiful coffee shops that I'm gonna reach out to. So I can't wait to show you my neck of the woods.
Yeah, we're gonna come hang out there.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. We got a whole lot of breweries and distilleries for you to try. So we'll make it a trip.
If you're listening to this and you know of a coffee shop, or even if you have a free thought group or a secular group that you're a part of in your area, reach out again through the email, daveoutloud@gmail.com. Or you can find that on the website, daveoutloud.com. And we'll be putting a schedule together in January. And like I said, we want to try to schedule as many of those as we can do, and would love for you to come bring us in, host us there. And we would love to do that. We got another call. We got Murgesh on the line, Bev. Oh my goodness. Murgesh, him in California, knows Dave from Everything ALS. Let's talk to Murgesh. Murgesh.
Hey, Dave.
Murgesh, good to hear from you, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. Viewers might remember Endu Navar from Everything ALS. Remember that episode that we had, Genevieve?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Murgesh is Endu's brother.
Oh my gosh! Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Kind of.
Yeah.
How are you? Well, thank you for calling.
Good. I've been watching a couple of your shows. This is not the first time, so I've been watching maybe a few weeks now. So.
Well, thank you.
As you said, I've been a lurker, right?
You've been lurking.
I decided to stop lurking and call you and say hi, if nothing else.
Well, that is so nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And is this the last show of the year?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yep. The last show for the year. Yeah.
Got it. And how was your year when you look back? Was it was a pretty expected and unexpected year, right? We're getting out of COVID and we're back in again.
Just
uncertainty. 2021.
Yeah, just when we feel like we're turning the corner, then we get this other variant. So it's very frustrating, isn't it? It's been a mixed bag this year for sure. Yeah. But my ALS is going. Hey, he says hi, Genevieve.
Hi. Oh gosh, yeah, it's been a year, that's for sure. But it's been a beautiful year amidst all the horrible things that have happened as well, because there's so much out of our control, and we can only do what we can with how we react.
Yeah. So Dave, I wanted to react to I think the caller before was talking about living in the present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's philosophers over the years have spoken about that for thousands of years. You can find that in all sorts of philosophical treatises and religions and things like that. People talk about that. And the concept, I think, is because what people forget is how short the human lifespan is, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And when 10 to 15 years ago, my daughter was born, I saw a little jar of M&Ms. I was 40 years old. I had a jar of M&Ms. There were 2,000 M&Ms in this jar. And I told my wife, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to give her one M&M every week. And by the time it's done, that's the end of my lifespan. She's like, what do you mean? She thought it was too depressing. We didn't do it. But human lifespan's only about 4,000 weeks, right?
That's
At least in an advanced country, that's about 80 years. So when you measure in weeks, Sundays, that's not a lot, right? So if you're 40 years old, halfway through, or whatever it is, you got another 2,000 left. And if you discount the last 1,000 because you've less control over it in some ways, health,
right.
You have 1,000 weeks. And these 1,000 weeks, you get to express free will in some of those weeks, and some weeks things happen. You can't really express free will. So it's a very limited amount of time when you really get to, act on your own, right? Type of thing. So it seems like when you say years, 40 years, it seems like a long time. When you said convert that into 2,000 weeks, it becomes much more measurable and tangible. And tied to that, I've been thinking about this concept called peak happiness. Right now, in my case, both my parents are alive. My dog is alive. He's 9 years old. I can't imagine a future when some of those things will not be true. So, or something else will happen. So today is the most happiest day ever. Right? Things are stable, so to speak. And that's true for everybody, right? Whether you have a illness or not, the future is the future, right? You don't know.
Right.
So anyway, so that's the reaction I wanted to share.
That's a great perspective when you put it in the framework of weeks. It just kind of brings it to a different place, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, and you've witnessed, Murgesh, because you saw Indu lose Peter, and you saw their life get, and I'm sure it affected you as a brother, and a brother-in-law to Peter, to see how quickly life can turn on its head with a diagnosis or a doctor visit.
Yeah, and it's just not. Yeah, Peter was one. Peter was more sudden, but since then we've, as you know, as part of the organization, we've lost more people also. So you brings that set of finiteness into more focus. And the other thing I wanted to talk was Genevieve said something about neurological rare diseases, genetic rare disease organization. She's part of. Dave, I don't know if you know this, but I'm trying to, the last year and a half, I'm trying to broaden out of ALS. I'm doing something called evidence ventures. And the goal here is to attract more talent to come into, bring more digital solutions to rare diseases, neurological diseases, and mental health. And when you look at it in singular verticals, it was too narrow. And the way to do that is to do it as a commercial enterprise, because that tends to bring more scalable talent into play, so to speak. So I'm actually trying to get evidence ventures to become the place where we find solutions to early diagnosis, through progression tracking, to pharmaceutical companies being able to stratify their patients across neurological diseases, right? Any disease, pretty much. Anyway, that's been my focus for the last year or so.
No, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, this is something that we talk about at the foundation all the time, which is that, in our case, the foundation I work for, it was started by a father whose daughter was diagnosed with an ultra rare genetic neurological disease. But if we're really looking at changing lives and saving generations and ending this part of suffering in the world, it's not feasible to just do it on this once-off nonprofit sort of like small insular scale. It needs to be built into the business model. It needs to be something that is sustainable going forward. So you don't just have widows and parents that are sort of coming together and putting their effort for this. We should have the infrastructure available to them so that they can just focus on grieving and healing and dealing with life. So I love that. And I would love to talk to you offline about this too, because it sounds really, really incredible.
Yeah, Murgesh, I'd love for you to connect with Genevieve. She's trying to raise money for their foundation as well, and you might have some connections to help her do that. I don't know. but yeah, I love the synergy there that you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Please,
that focus came from my ALS experience
Mm-hmm.
to see there's commonality across a lot of these diseases, and we make progress in some of them. But can I talk about something related? This is a new thought that I've had. As
Okay.
we're beginning to build these solutions that will catch disease earlier, right? Cancer or neurological disease or what have you. It's always seen as a good thing, right? Generally to detect things early so you can fix it or whatever.
Right.
But I've had another thought. What happens when we get these solutions to a point when we all find out we have something in us that will come through 10 years, 20 years out there? What does that do in terms of anxiety levels and all of that? Do you need to know, right? Does everybody need to be at early diagnosis and the like? So that's something that I'm toying in the back of my mind. When is it right for somebody to know, and when is it right for somebody to not know? And your show, as I see a lot of philosophical conversations here.
Yeah, that's an interesting philosophical question.
Yeah, that is
Because-
a question I've thought about quite a lot, actually. I remember watching a documentary about Huntington's disease, and it's one of those genetic diseases that is hereditary, and you can get a test for it if your parents are, to see if you have this gene that you know that you will eventually get these symptoms and have this disease. And it was so fascinating watching these conversations between family members who kept going back and forth on whether or not, they and their siblings really wanted this test. Because you're absolutely right. Sometimes there's so much that is outside of our control. Sometimes knowing, it's kind of like the age-old question of, would you want to know when you die and how? That's a tough question for a lot of people. And I think you're absolutely on point that at a certain point, it can just cause stress and anxiety, or it could teach you that, wow, okay, I've got this amount of time, like, let's go, let's do this, let's live life to its fullest. It really depends on the perspective of the individual.
Yeah, that's a good philosophical discussion.
You know what I want to know, Genevieve? I want to know where I'm going to die, because I'll never go there.
That's great. That's great. Oh,
I
that's
control the
funny.
when, right? I can control the where, I guess.
Just avoid that spot. But that begs the question: do you want to live forever? No.
Yeah.
When something doesn't have finiteness, it loses value, and that's something we've talked about before. The whole idea of eternal life. Anything that, I mean, you joke about it, Murgesh. I know it was a joke, but if you knew that you were going to die at a certain spot in San Francisco on the Golden Gate Bridge, you say, I would never go there. That means you would never die. And that means you would live forever. And who wants to do that? No one, because then life has no value. So there's that. There's another philosophical issue there.
And you'd go out, and in that case, you would also go through your life without seeing the beautiful view of the city and the Oakland Hills from the San Francisco, from the Bay Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. I would say, when you've lived a good full life and you say, you know what, I'm getting tired and old, I'll just go ahead and go across the bridge and be done with it.
Yeah. As a native San Franciscan, that's probably what I would do. I can't think of a better place to go, because it does have to end eventually. And I guess I would hope that it's somewhere beautiful.
And the other part about living forever is, we're all connected. We're social beings. You don't want to be the only one alive and everybody of your cohort, your children and your grandchildren passed on. That's no life, right? Either. So
right.
So I don't know. I think we may end up in a different place in the future with technology, etc. But that's probably a different conversation.
Yeah, technology's taking us to places I don't know we want to go. Yeah. Well, Murgesh, you live out in the Bay Area, right? Aren't you out in Northern California? Yep. Yeah, I thought so. Well, we're going to get out that way soon. We're going to meet you out there when we're going to get to meet Indu and a lot of the other team members when we get out there. So we were actually going to try to come in January, but we're going to hold it back till things maybe have settled down a little bit more till February or March. But we'll let you.
Yeah,
we'll let you know.
Indu shared the picture with me when you went to Seattle, and You hung out at the. You went to see Peter's.
I went to the grave. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Grave.
Yeah.
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 That's a picture.
Well, very good to talk to you,
Yeah,
Murgesh. I
well,
really
I look
appreciate
forward
you
to it.
calling. Yeah, we'll meet you one of these days, brother.
Yeah, look forward. Genevieve, I'll look forward to connect with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's lovely to meet you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your year and a very happy 2022.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Happy New Year,
Murgesh.
guys. And
Happy New Year. Alrighty,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, what a nice surprise.
Ah, that is a wonderful surprise. He seems like a wonderful person. I'm so happy that he called.
Yeah, he is. I'm trying to mute this thing. Is it muting? Are you still there, Murgesh? Maybe he hung up. I'm trying to mute it. Anyway, I wanted to give a few more notes about upcoming guests that we've either talked to or talked about getting on. I've talked to most of these people. These are some of the guests and subjects. Dr. Marlene Winnell, who coined the phrase religious trauma syndrome. We're going to talk with her about religious trauma and her experience with it. She's had a long career in dealing with that and very, very, very knowledgeable about that. Was a former evangelical herself. The Naked Pastor, some of you may know him. David Hayward. He's a former evangelical pastor, and he goes by the Naked Pastor, and he does cartoons and things. He's got a good following on Twitter, I think. You ever heard of him, Genevieve? I don't know if you have.
I don't think I have. Marlene Winnell I've heard of. Absolutely.
Right.
I've been meaning to read her books. She's incredible, but I'm very excited to meet him.
And you mentioned Paula Gia is going to come on, and Shannon Q. We've talked to them.
Yeah, we've talked to them. It's hard to nail them down for good times, I think. And I know everybody is busy, and when you only do, hey, are you available at 7:00 Eastern on a Monday? It can be difficult. But I'm very, very excited.
Well, they were moving back when we talked to them too. Yeah. Bevan's great about handing me notes. I love it. Since the super chat's down, please remember you can become a Patreon supporter. The link there is in the show notes and things. But if you want to support the show and the Dying Out Loud work, that'd be great. We'd love to have you be a part of that. Be sure to like and subscribe. I think it's a rule that I say that on every show. I'm not sure why. People are going to if they want to, but anyway. Yeah, thank you for your support in that way. Hopefully we'll have the verification done. The optimization, all that stuff done by the first of the year, where you can do the super chats. To go on, we've got there's a friend of mine named Brian Maynard. He's a former pastor. He's done a lot of study on. You may have heard of a book called "The Body Keeps the Score." Trauma in the body. And he's now a therapist that works in that field. And he's an actual descendant of the Hatfields and McCoys.
Oh.
Yes.
That will be very interesting.
Came out of that kind of Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia poverty, escaped that, got into evangelicalism, escaped that, and has become a therapist. And he's an incredible guy, and I really look forward to that conversation. Hector Garcia talking about indigenous people. He's a psychologist. Lloyd Evans talking about, he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Arden of Eden, transatlantic. Eric Wise, another friend of mine, another ex-clergy, and went through gay conversion therapy back in the day. And it's a horrible, horrible thing. And we're going to talk about that. Greta Vosper, an atheist pastor in Canada. Yes, you've heard that right, an atheist pastor. Stan Micheal, another pastor friend of mine who's a progressive Christian. We're going to talk about circumcision. We're going to get a guest on about circumcision. And Hemet Mehta, the friendly atheist, is going to be coming on. Who else have we thought about and talked about?
Oh gosh. Well, hopefully we'll get my friend Melissa Jo Stewart on the show.
Oh yeah.
She escaped from a very fundamentalist Christian cult, essentially, And she is in law school right now, and she's just absolutely brilliant. She is so wise. She's gone through so much in her life, and to see where she's come out now, it's really beautiful. So I'm excited to get her on the show, definitely. I mean, it's amazing too, because I feel like we've had so many amazing guests just in September.
We have.
and yet there is so much to come. And I think when we first started talking about doing this show together, we were afraid, like, oh gosh, like, what are we going to do when we run out of guests? But I don't see that happening.
No, we were talking about, do we want to do it weekly? I mean, what if we'll run out of guests in 2 months?
Originally, we were going to do like 1 per month, I think.
I know.
Or like 2 per month. That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
And also on the Patreons, I'm looking at my notes, but the Patreon supporters get background stuff, like pictures from sailing today for Patreons only. So you get some extra benefits if you're a patron. So just consider that if you want to. We've got a call. I want to take this. It's Marcia, she, her, from Pennsylvania, a future guest. I know this lady. Hey, Marcia.
Hey,
hello,
Dave.
Marcia.
How are you?
Hey,
Hi,
good.
Genevieve.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
This is Marcia. She's coming on January 17th, right, Marcia?
Yep, that's right.
How will we title?
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Your story is amazing. Your strength is amazing. The mere fact that you've survived that is amazing. And when the viewers hear your story, they'll know what I'm talking about.
Cool. I'm so impressed with this list of people that you've got lined up. I mean, that's like, did I hear you talk about the body keeps the score? I was just kind of waiting on the line when you were talking about that.
Yeah. Not the author of the book.
Yeah.
Not the author of the book, but a friend of mine who's done studies in that field and is now a therapist using those techniques. And he's writing his own book about his
awesome.
experience. Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
You've had experience with that. I mean, I think your therapist was touching on that many years ago, right?
Yeah, very much so. When it was just kind of being early talked about. I'm, getting old, so
yeah,
it was a long time ago. But
how will we title your show? I mean, if we try to put a title on each show, what would we title yours? I mean, how do we even approach that?
You could do like 5-part series on. I mean, my issue and the thing that I try to speak out about whenever I'm given the opportunity, and is just kind of what it's like trying to recover from childhood incest from within that Christian worldview, and the various ways that that particular worldview impacts, the reality of what recovery looks like, and just the many aspects that present complications, really, things that I just think a lot of average people, Christians or even people who've come out of that, maybe don't necessarily think about specific to recovery and to the sort of mind of the person who is, has experienced that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and
title. I
mean,
ahead. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah. Well, we'll come up with that. I mean, it's a tough subject to deal with, and it's something that we want to approach sensitively, but honestly. And I know a big part of your
for sure.
A big part of what I know your activism is, if you will, is the way that the church the way that the church just doesn't deal with things like this. And I know that
right.
you get triggered all over again every time you hear another Josh Duggar kind of story, and the way that they the way that they cover that up, and the way that they just it's under the blood of Jesus, which was what you were told, and we have to forgive and forget and move on, and there's never any accountability.
Right. Yeah, and it's just crazy making the kind of connections that they expect you to make between this sacrifice that, of Jesus's death and your worth and, all of that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into all of that right now. Just kind of, I know we're at the end here, and I
little
want to
preview, but
give a shout out and say hey, and
a little taste of what's to come. And that'll be a good show and an important conversation.
Yeah, how excited I am to be given a voice on your show to have that conversation, and just to let you know how much I support what you're doing. And I love the conversations you guys have, and the pots you stir, and the things that you get going there. It's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate that, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of yours, and appreciate you and what you've overcome. I'm just impressed with you.
Oh, thank you. The same.
All right.
I think, yeah, I'm not a lurker. I had to call in and say hello.
Man, I think
now that we're all clearing the air about the lurking here.
I think we shamed all the. We won't get any more chat ever.
No. If there's one word I could use to describe you, the last one it would be is cowardly. So
yeah.
I'm
thank
so
you.
happy. I'm so happy that we get to have you on and give you this platform to talk about this, because it is so important. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Me too.
Well,
yeah, I was hoping that guy about the coding in the cells would come around and talk. I would have enjoyed that conversation too. But you got to get in the game if you want to, be heard,
apparently he's still a coward. So there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Well, thank you, Marcia. You say hi to Giles for me.
I will do that. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that will be that's a tough conversation. It's a tough show, tough topic, but very necessary. So I'm glad she called in, give a little preview of that to the viewers. But yeah, we'll be adding things to the calendar for February once we get into January, and then onward throughout the year. There's an endless supply of topics and people. Not endless, but
no, it really is going to be amazing, and I am very much looking forward to what is in store for both of us in 2022. But if I will say one thing about this year, and this being, the first year that I've been introduced to you, and B, become your friend, if there's one thing that I kind of want to finish off the last show of this year with, it's just that I hope you truly understand how incredible you are, and how much you've inspired people, and how it's so rare that somebody can say, especially if they're in your situation where there is so much to deal with, and it's not easy. You can. There are some days that I know that you don't want to carpe the fucking diem. But even through all of that, you have helped so many people, and you will continue to help so many people for the rest of your life. And I think that's really special. And I just want to say thank you for being you.
Thank you, Genevieve. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being on this with me. And it's been a great connection, and I love you.
I love you too, Dave.
On that, we should say goodnight before we disintegrate into a puddle of tears.
I know.
And we love all you viewers and faithful followers, and we appreciate your support so much. Yeah, that we are going to talk about conversion therapy. So I saw a note there. I got cookies. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in again tonight. That's our show for 2021. See you next week.